Welcome to the Empowered Women in Gaming interview series. During these interviews, you will meet amazing women in the gaming and entertainment industries who have burst through glass ceilings, achieved remarkable accolades, and empowered other women to do the same. For this interview, I had the pleasure of speaking to Miabyte. Mia is a partnered Twitch streamer and the co-host of Gaming Podcast, that's G-A-Y-Ming Podcast. Using her platform, Mia advocates for LGBTQIA and trans rights, especially in the Twitch space. In our conversation, Mia talked about the current hate raids across Twitch and what we can do to stand up against them. She also shared some of her incredible accomplishments, including her participation in getting the trans tag added to Twitch. If you are looking to support our cause, please check out our Empowered Women merch line, the proceeds of which will be going to Women's Shelters Canada. Their link and the link to the merch are in the description. Thank you, and please enjoy. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to say that the community has been so excited to have you. When we announced the Empowered Women interview series, your name was one of the first names that came up from the community and in our own brainstorming, and I'm just so honored that you've come to celebrate this with us. So thank you for joining.
Aww,
we're so happy to have you. So Mia, thank you again. How was your day so far today? How has your week been going?
It's been pretty uneventful this week. I took a bit of a break from Twitch, took a couple of days off that I'd usually be streaming to spend some time with family and just to escape from everything that's been going on. So yeah. I've been trying to like spend some more time like to myself and just like sorting out upgrades and things like that. Again, new mic and some of the new tech being part of it. I'm testing out a new a monitor that was just sent to me by Gigabyte, not to flex.
No, definitely flex. Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, I've just been trying to like, I don't know, I'm tired basically. Yeah. I'm just really tired at the moment. I'm just trying to be recharging a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
there's been a lot going on, not only in the world but in life in general.
How have you been?
I've been okay. I've been good. I feel very much the same way. Just like, I don't know, the end of the summer was just kind of like an exhausting time when you're like, oh Lord, I could use a break for a minute, you know? But thank you anyway, despite how busy you are. Thank you for your time. Tell me more about that new tech that you got going on.
Well, I was looking at upgrading the mic setup. So this is a Shure SM7B, and I cannot make decisions for the life of me. This is like a 330-pound microphone, and like so I have a Patreon, awesome. And essentially that Patreon is just like dedicated to whatever money goes into that just goes back into the live stream. So I was like, what should I choose? Do I choose the Shure? Do I choose the RE20? I was getting a lot of mixed things. And then this just turned up at my door one day because a lovely community member decided to get it off the Amazon wish list because I've just been talking about it. I've got this now. I've got the cloud lifter, which is wonderful, by the way. And I had to argue with them for about 20 minutes just to make sure it was okay for me to even have this, because this is one of the most expensive gifts I think I've ever been given. Yeah. But yeah, it is a little bit gain hungry, so I picked up a cloud lifter as well, which is like a little, it just applies extra gain to the actual microphone without pushing up the internal noise it has in there. I don't know, I'm still playing around with it, but it seems pretty good at this point. So,
dang, that's sweet. That's incredible. Awesome community member for sure.
I know, a fantastic community. Like one of the reasons that keeps me going. I do really think it was probably likely just because of everything that's been happening recently. They probably thought that I needed a pick me up, which honestly, I do need a pick me up at the moment. So
I hope you don't mind. We are going to get into some of what's been going on, but before we do, I want to talk about your journey as a Twitch streamer. How did you get here? Why Twitch streaming?
Why Twitch streaming? Oh God, this is a this is a story.
Goody! I love stories.
This all has to like directly translates back into my transition. For those of you out there, I am a trans woman, so I didn't always used to be this that stands before you. Essentially, like I'd lived in China in 2014 for about 6 months, doing like some business stuff, which completely fell apart. So when I got back for a couple of years, like I'd literally just like milling around. I started transition. I moved into my own place, and I really had like nothing to do except for like the business that I started, which I was doing motion graphics at the time, just bespoke motion graphics for people. And it was like, I need an excuse to play video games again. Because I stopped playing video games and I thought, well, I don't want it to be a waste of my time. So let's justify it. Because I'm incredibly lonely at the moment anyway, because once I'd gone through transition, like all the friends that I did have just like drifted away and just stopped talking, which is a bit annoying, but that's also on me as well as on other people. Like I could have been better at actually reaching out to them, but yeah, I felt extremely isolated. So I thought, you know, if I'm going to play video games, let's talk to people, let's be social about it. So I started streaming, and 5 years later we're here.
Here you are.
And it just snowballed over time and got better and better. So yeah.
So what kept you to sticking to stream? What motivated you to keep going for 5 years?
You know what, as much as as critical as I can be, as I am, of the platform, there's no other place online quite like Twitch. Like the feeling of community and this like little microcosm of memes and things that you only really get the language of Twitch that you can only find here. It definitely drew me in, and there's nothing quite like it. Like you can go to other places like YouTube or TikTok, but nothing really feels like a shared experience. That I don't know if that sounds weird, but like it's not the same. And especially you combine that with the actual community that I built myself that loves me and I love them. I wouldn't want to give that up for anything.
You articulated that perfectly. I've been having a hard time putting on my finger on exactly what makes Twitch so special, but that's exactly what you said. Like this little microcosm of amazing individuals that you have this concrete and exceptional experience with that you can't get anywhere else. That's such an incredible way of putting it. How have you gone about growing your community, and how has your community become this very important entity in your life?
Well, I feel like a lot of the growth of my community definitely has to do with, two parts really. At the very beginning, like I was kind of like just drifting from game to game and not really going anywhere. A huge amount of my growth towards the early days of streaming, I imagine, was just like networking, finding friends, all of that good stuff. And then Warframe, getting into Warframe and just playing Warframe in that category and becoming like a Warframe, well, they're referred to as Warframe creators now, but at the time Warframe partner. That was amazing for like the community growth. The fact that there was just like so many wonderful people in that community, and they really love what you do, and they're willing to share their passions with you for the game and just in general was so great. And from there, diversifying into different areas, you kind of have a little bit of a fall off there, but the growth continued mostly with I think being more vocal about myself and just generally the things that I believe in. Now a lot of what I do is literally just sticking up for LGBTQIA plus people in the gaming space, especially like trans creators. There was the whole trans tag movement that actually which we've been like fighting for years, and finally this year it got implemented, which was absolutely fantastic. But for a while there, that was a way of finding and connecting to other marginalized creators. Gaming Mag, for instance, has allowed me to connect with a lot of people, which is an online gay gamer nerdy culture focused magazine that I actually co-host the podcast for. That's allowed me to connect with a lot of people and just like extend my reach, extend my influence tenfold. So that's been extremely helpful. But yeah, it's just like a number of different things, but yeah.
That's incredible. You've done so many things and selfless acts to build your community and be the presence and a force of good in this sphere. which is so incredible. And I want to talk more about that. I would like to start with the trans tag, because that's something that's very recent. For anybody who isn't familiar, when we say that, it's the tags that you search for people, that you use for searches on Twitch. For example, you might search multiplayer or playing with viewers, but they've recently added tags to represent groups of people, including the trans folk. So tell me more about that fight and how that came to be.
So that stemmed from a conversation that was being had in a good friend of mine, Nicotine. She's a Twitch ambassador. She's been a friend of mine for a very long time, for years now. And it was just a conversation that stemmed in her chat, essentially, about like the need for more diverse tags after Twitch took away the communities feature. I'm not sure if you're on the platform at the time of the communities feature, but I think it was gotten rid of back in 2018, potentially the start of 2019,
before
something
me.
like that. Essentially what that was, these were like self-assigned tags. So you know how you have hashtags on other platforms? It was essentially that you could create a hashtag and that would become a tag, and you could literally just use that on your stream. And there are some very popular ones like the LGBTQA tag or the trans tag, in terms of like those communities that you could just jump in and be a part of. When Twitch scrapped that, obviously because they had limited control over what tags could be made, they completely gutted the ability for creators to find one another, and just like that discoverability in general, especially for like marginalized creators. A lot of, well, not just that, just like creators in general doing more niche things like say programming or game design, that kind of thing, that doesn't have a tag on Twitch, and still doesn't have a tag on Twitch, but those things were completely gutted. They were completely gone, and for a long time it was just a hole there that was left. So a conversation started in Nicotine stream, which was literally like, hey, wouldn't it be great if there was a trans tag? And me being the person that I am, and just in chat furiously typing, yeah, but you need to actually make any, like, you need to actually turn it into a movement, like maybe make a hashtag or something. And I'm not saying I was responsible, but I had a little bit of influence there. But then that's where the whole trans tag now thing came from, I believe. It may have been a different hashtag at the start, but it eventually turned into the trans tag now tag. And then over the course of several years, it took a while, since whenever they go to the communities, we were just screaming at them. It was only this year that they decided to implement it after it gained popularity and media coverage and all of this stuff. And it's actually fantastic to see Twitch giving a crap for once, because historically, when it comes to marginalized communities, they only really care about LGBTQIA plus people or creatives of color in our designated months that they can put us to the forefront and then forget about us for the rest of the year.
Right.
In fact, when they actually announced the tag changes, they literally did it when the news came out about I believe it was the former face of PogChamp who came out to have said some less than nice things, some very, very worrying things. So they were like, okay, how do we distract from this? We're putting out these tags a week before Pride Month. So it was pretty transparent that their plan, they said, we're putting this out early. So their plan was, we're going to put it out during Pride Month to try and win points. So it was very transparent, and like it's a bit annoying. It's a bit frustrating. This will probably tie into a broader conversation that we're going to have today, that Twitch only seems to do things when it like serves them PR wise. Unfortunately.
Yes.
But yeah. But
what did that fight mean for you and the trans community broadly, if you don't mind speaking to that? What did that fight mean?
So I can only really speak for myself. I can definitely recount the things that I saw, but a lot of people were so ecstatic over like it being implemented at the end. Like so many people for the longest time just wanted discoverability. Discoverability on Twitch is god awful.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find any content that's actually catered for people. So when they said, oh, we're actually going to put in specific tags for your communities, for you to be able to find each other, that we're actually going to recognize that characteristics can be content, your identity can be content. That meant a lot to people, because it also meant that we can start finding other cool trans streamers. More people can now like find me. People that are questioning things about themselves, or just questioning in general, can now find me. They can come in, they can ask me questions, because like for me, and I've heard this off people, but for me personally, my transition only started when I got online and actually started learning more about the things that I was going through, and starting seeing other people like me. And I've heard that from several people who DM me privately and said, oh, because I watched you, you're the reason that I started transition now, which is a crazy thing for me to think about, and that's kind of insane to me. But the idea that people now have that back, they have a way of seeing faces that look like themselves. It means a hell of a lot for people. And like, again, for your average like cis white dude, and I'm not trying to use that in a disparaging way, like people who are part of the norm, so to speak, don't have to, like, they wouldn't necessarily get it, because every piece of content online is catered to them. The top people on Twitch are all cis white dudes. You look at the Twitch front page, that I don't think Twitch really knows what the word diversity means, because I can click, and I know that it's different for like the UK front page and the US front page, because it's like regional, it's based on which region you're in, but whenever I check front page, it's like, oh, white guy, oh, white girl, white guy. Okay, so again, it means a lot to be able to see yourself in the media that you consume. It's very important. So I do feel like this was a tremendous step towards that, and it meant a lot to a lot of people.
Especially because the Twitch itself is such a diverse place. It truly is. Like, and the streamers themselves are diverse. So knowing them and seeing them and them being visible, I think, is important for so many people, especially people who are feeling isolated or marginalized and are going to Twitch for this exact reason, to find their people. So that makes it so much easier. I can imagine almost a sense of relief at being able to find the community that you identify with.
I mean, like the first day it was implemented, like people again were so happy about it. I literally just had like a number of different creators like flooding into that tag, that pseudo category that you can find, and just saying hi and hello, and just being so happy about what was happening, and the fact that they could just again find people like them, and it meant a lot, I imagine, to the community for that to be implemented. I imagine it meant a lot for like all the dozens of other communities that were included in that too, because we not only got the trans tag, we got tags for creators of color, we had disability tags. They did more than I expected, which is always nice,
which was
to
awesome.
See.
How did you feel about a Pride Month on Twitch this year compared to other years?
I mean, personally, in past years, I've been featured, but I wasn't featured this year. But besides besides that, it was good. It was really nice to see that they, took some of the creators and they put them up on billboards in Times Square. That's insane amazing to me. That they would be willing to do something like that. I mean, the whole Pride Month thing and the whole like dedicated month thing, it's really important, but it always seems so performative. It always seems so, we're doing this from a PR standpoint first. And I saw so many companies this year, just outside of Twitch, who were like pushing Pride Month stuff, but weren't exactly being diverse about it either. Like there were no there was a period of time over a couple of days where I was literally just tweeting about hey, I'm just looking at everybody that's featured. I don't see any trans people whatsoever. You're actually including them in
Yeah.
your celebrations, or there's a because it's very easy to go to the popular creators or like female content creators who again happen to be white and gay and cis and just say, okay, this is who we're going to put forward. When Pride to me should be a celebration of diversity of all aspects of that rainbow, rather than just, okay, we're just going to be putting forward gay men or gay women, you know. And it I don't like using the word transparent because that, like, I don't like harping on companies as well, because sometimes I feel like they do have good intentions, they just misstep a little bit, you know. I actually had a very similar experience the other day where I talk about like not trying to shit on people for having good intentions. Literally, this is crazy. Like yesterday, I put out a tweet just saying trans people like need love too. Got quite popular, and then some person who thought that they were helping decided to be a complete dick to me about the fact that I didn't put a space.
The space between trans and
people. And I'm like, and then they just started arguing about it. It's like, you must have no respect for the trans community then. I'm like, how, you realize I am trans, right? And like, there's such this massive disconnect. Because like, to me and to so many other like trans men and women, whether or not you put a space between two words is the furthest thing from our mind. We're concerned about things like healthcare and housing and like again access to healthcare, and the laws that are being passed and pushed against us. But this is the hill that you choose to push, and you know, in the process go against someone trying to put out positive messaging into the world and actually trying to help people. You're gonna essentially try and vilify them for nothing. And they were like, they apologized privately later, like, oh my god, I didn't know that you were trans, I'm so sorry. I still think what I said was like the right thing to say, because you know, and I was just like, well, regardless, if there are allies out there trying to do good things and they're not doing it 100% correctly, I would rather have those allies doing those good things and not try and push them away for a slight little thing, you know, that in the grand scheme of things doesn't even matter. Yes, okay, to some people a space between two words might be the end of the world, but in the big picture, for the things that actually affect trans people and the struggles that I as a trans person, other trans people go through, it's meaningless. Sorry, that was a little bit off topic, but yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's because I don't like harping on companies that try and do good, but there's always ways of doing it better. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I saw that interaction that occurred on your Twitter, and it brought a question to mind about allies and the space that they occupy. And in your mind, what is the best work that allies could be doing, especially allies of trans folk?
And then, like, I don't want to speak for other marginalized communities, but when it comes to allies and helping marginalized communities, I always say, like, listening first is the best course of action. Listening to the actual needs and wants of the communities that you're trying to be an ally to and trying to protect, rather than grandstanding and doing this self-righteous stuff that you're literally doing to try and make yourself seem morally superior. Because I see a lot of that, you know, like people arguing against actions that other people are. It's ridiculous. I've seen posts where like a person of color will post something, and because they didn't have an avatar featuring them, somebody else will come out of the woodwork and saying, oh, this is so bad for the communities of color and stuff like that. And it's literally the same thing. Again, it's like you're literally talking to a person of color and telling them
how to behave,
how they should be affected, or how to behave. And gatekeeping, just because it's honestly ridiculous sometimes. But so I do believe that the best way of being an ally is literally calling out bullshit when you see it, but real bullshit. like helping people and help boost the voices of those who actually are asking for things to be changed.
Right.
I think that's the strongest thing an ally can do.
I like that.
Mhm.
I like that. So you are not the voice of that community, but you can boost the voice of that community. I like that. That's an excellent way of putting it.
Oh, and don't put your emotional labor on other people.
What do you mean by that?
For instance, like if there's something that you want to learn about, Google it first rather than go. Like, it might not be the best thing. I mean, it's always better to me. And I don't mind questions, but not everybody is like this. I get questions a lot during my streams, just about the trans experience and what it's like. And like sometimes it's from people who are less than nice, asking me to defend myself or to comment on things that that have nothing to do with me, like the whole trans people in sports. And like I like literally. I am not educated enough on that to give an opinion. I have my uninformed opinion, but it's got nothing to do with me. So you asking me to defend something that you don't even know my opinion. This is what really annoys me as well. Because I am part of a community, sometimes people will presuppose my everything about me, including my opinions, which is it's one of the most frustrating things. And this happens a lot, not just with marginalized people, obviously, just with people who just take a stance on something. Like if you say that you're on like one side of the political spectrum, it means that you must believe in like X, Y, and Z.
Stereotypes, essentially.
So when I say emotional labor, it comes to I get a lot of questions, and like sometimes it just gets so tiring, have to say the same things over and over and over again, especially with really basic things that somebody could like Google first, you know. And if somebody had said that, it's like, listen, I'm reading up about this thing, I don't 100% understand it, could you fill me in on that? That means so much more than like just saying explain this to me, and then I have to like spend my time and effort explaining a very, very basic thing to somebody. So if you're an ally and you don't understand something, maybe look it up first, and then I feel that's a lot more meaningful than just like
assuming
going to somebody else and then trying to take their time and energy to explain it to you. You know,
as though that's their job, which it's not. Right.
I can't tell you the amount of times that I just like, it'd be nice to exist as a normal person. I say normal person in the world that doesn't have to get questioned about a billion different things. For instance, going to IRL events, and this is going to make me sound a little bit conceited, I guess, maybe, but going to IRL events and then talking to people, and then the whole trans conversation comes up, and then all of a sudden the conversation just skews to that rather than just having a general conversation, because people have to somehow prove themselves, I guess, like prove they are an ally. It's like, oh yes, I have a trans friend, and like, what do you think about this? It's like, I just wanted to have a regular conversation. Just because I'm a trans person, it doesn't define me. It doesn't mean that everything that I'm focused on is trans related or trans rights or about the LGBTQIA plus community, especially if you're going to an event which is about content creation and Twitch and stuff. Sometimes those kind of conversations pop up, and it's like, how do I have to do this again? So it's just general things like that. Just be aware of that not everybody's going to be open to constantly talking about that kind of thing, because we do it a lot.
I imagine.
So yeah. But that's what I mean by emotional labor.
Thank you. That's a really important and clarifying point. As I do imagine a lot of people who, and I'm not saying I'm guilty of this too. I probably assume that when I see especially trans creators on Twitch, that they are a voice of that community. And I imagine not all of them want to be a voice of that community, or nor should they be seen as solely such.
Yeah, I feel like it's difficult, because like everybody, I imagine like any like trans person wants to do the best for themselves and has their own best interests in mind, but not all of us have the capacity for that. Like there's some days where I look at the discourse and it's just like, okay, I'm out today. I can't be doing this. I'm just gonna play video games all day and forget about it. Because when it comes to like the UK, it's every other week that we get like anti-trans, like pro-turfy kind of articles coming out and stuff, and it's just, it can get really exhausting. So I wouldn't feel sorry that I wouldn't be surprised that somebody just wants to live a like a regularly, I don't want to say normal life, but a life outside of like any kind of like broader discussion on those topics. And again, I wouldn't expect that of people either if you're going in there, you know. We're people first, and then our identifiers second. I feel like that's always a good thing to remember.
I love that.
And I think that goes for any marginalized community. You know?
Absolutely. Always people first. I love that. It's a great way to phrase that, and helpful for people, hopefully, to try to remember that. So you have been on the Twitch space for 5 years. I imagine it's been quite a journey throughout those 5 years. What are some of the major accomplishments and challenges that you've had to face? You can tackle those one at a time throughout that time.
Oh geez. Okay, so let's start with the hurdles that have had to be overcome, I guess. I guess just like how you structure your communities and what you allow and what you're okay with is like something to get to grips with. Obviously there's always the struggle with content creation and choosing like what is right for the channel. How is this going to make me grow? What am I going to do that, you know, it makes my audience happy versus what makes me happy versus what is good for the channel. And that's always a struggle. But more so than that, like that can go to the wayside. Like it's more or less like dealing with parasocial relationships and people that I've always kind of struggled with. I'm not the best when it comes to relationship. I'm quite open with like talking about myself and stuff, but I tend to be, I'm not exactly incredibly communicative. So I have a very, very small circle of like inner circle of friends. I find that very, very difficult when people try and come into that or would mistake that parasocial relationship that viewers have with me as some sort of actual friendship. So I've had to put rules in place to prevent people from like constantly DMing me or getting too chummy. And I hate that every time it happens. It's like, I don't hate that they do it. I hate that I have to say, listen, I can't be your best friend, you know. I can't like play video games with you every single day, and it, like, just because I'm someone that you might look up to or think that that is cool, I can't necessarily be that person for you, because I'd have to be that person for a bunch of other people. I imagine you probably had that yourself, you know, people who try and get too close. So it's stuff like that, which is like not a massive problem to deal with. I've built up rules, and when it comes to like trolls and transphobic abuse and things like that, well, aside from recently, which is a whole other shebang, like generally I've got a very, very good community team / mod team now who can take care of things quite quickly and keep me quite protected.
Good.
I think one of the worst times I've had during streaming was literally when one of my ex-friends, who happened to be more centrist / Republican, decided that they didn't agree with me backing the Black Lives Matter protests, and proceeded to turn into a horrifying stalker for a couple of months, harasser for a couple of months, and just would not leave me alone. So yeah, I tried to end that relationship amicably, and
wasn't able to go that way.
Yeah, some people couldn't take no for an answer. Especially when then they end up emailing you things about, I'm not sure if you were aware during the BLM protests of the old man that got knocked down by police and started like bleeding out of his ear.
Yes, I saw that on the news.
So when that happened and I posted about it, I literally had them in my emails, because it was the only way they could get into contact with me, using burner emails. They made so many like burner accounts just to keep emailing me. as well as like signing up my email for like right-wing propaganda sites like Steven Crowder and stuff like that. Is ridiculous. But they emailed me say it's like with like a 4chan breakdown of this old man being a paid actor, and there's like a blood pack on the back of his head because he had like a lump there in the photo. They said it was a blood pack in the back of his head, so it was fake, that there was blood coming out of his ear, and that he went in there like specifically trying to get knocked down. And it's like it was a huge emotional toll on me to have that happen to somebody that I thought that used to be a friend, and literally made like every single day a nightmare for the period of several months until they realized just what they were doing to me.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Nobody should have to.
Yeah, it's harassment and abuse is one thing, but when it comes from a place that from someone that you, well, we kind of drifted apart over time, but from someone that you thought you could trust. I say trust very loosely, obviously. It hurts all the more, but absolutely. Yeah, so that's one of the worst things, I guess. Struggling with like even communicating with Twitch, that's also been a nightmare. And like I'm not sure what your experience is as a partner channel, but in my experience, obviously we're forced to go through support. We don't get any extra level of communication other than, you know, ticking. You can mark yourself as a partner, so you get to go to the partner support rather than regular support. But yeah, I've had struggles with stuff like gaining access to things like front page, and when it happened, I think it was like cancelled. Okay, so the full story is we have a UK side here, and there's a form that you fill out for front page here, and I did that, and the time came and left, and I never got anybody in touch with me for what I requested. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just contact them again. Contacted them again. They referred the same form to me, which now I couldn't complete because it was a Google form and it was like one response only.
Right, you'd already done it.
Okay. So I need to be able to contact someone because I can't fill in the form again because I did that once. The time has passed and nobody did anything. So like, yeah, here's an email. Email that email for the UK partner team several times, just no response whatsoever. Get to the point where you're complaining about it on social media, feeling like, does Twitch even give a damn about content creators if you don't have like this many viewers? And like one of the Twitch staff actually saw that and they're like, hey, we're gonna sort you out with a front page slot on the US side. And I'm like, yo, that person who works there, by the way, that staff member, amazing human being. I'll leave their name just because I don't want to get them into anything because they basically did me a favor. So I got a front page slot. I wasn't told, and this was for the launch of Cyberpunk. Now,
oh no, you didn't know when it was?
Well, I know. I was. Sorry. Okay. Let me rephrase this. I arranged it so I could stream Cyberpunk on the front page the day it came out, before anybody knew that Cyberpunk was going to be a. Can I swear?
Yes. Oh yeah, by all means.
Yeah, before anybody knew that Cyberpunk was going to be a shit show, for starters. So I was really excited about it. I was hyped up about the game, and I was like, oh yes, that's really cool. And I contacted the devs, and they were like, they sent me out a package and stuff, and they were like, oh cool, you're going to be streaming it on front page. That's awesome. Time came. Numbers didn't change. Nothing changed. I'm like, okay, are we even on front page? We'd been pushed without even telling us. Well, I'd been pushed without being told, and I was just like really annoyed about it. It essentially like destroyed the stream, and I was like, I complained to them during the stream about it. It's like, oh yeah, you got pushed, but we can put you on like now. So I ended up getting put on the front page for like 10 minutes.
That's it?
10 minutes I was on front page, and then after that I got an email back like I complained again, and it's like, oh yeah, you can apply again in 6 months time.
Okay. All that effort.
So, yeah, especially like the whole reason that I got that front page spot was because I thought I was complaining about Twitch not valuing, feeling like Twitch didn't value me as a creator on their site. Right. So I essentially, after that, I was just like, listen, I'm just gonna stop trying to get anything from Twitch's side. If they want to come to me at some point about something, great. I doubt it, but so I've pretty much found that it's another kind of nail in the coffin of Twitch doesn't really care about you unless you're like one of the top creators, or especially if you're like marginalized smaller creators, they really don't.
Yeah.
They really don't care. Besides some of the PR stuff that they pull out every year, they yeah. And again, maybe that's just me being bitter, but that's my personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else had experiences like that or has had experiences like that, but it's been extremely difficult for me. And I don't want to put that down to the fact that I'm trans. I don't want to put that down to the fact that, you know, like I'm a smaller content creator in terms of numbers than like somebody who would be much bigger, or if they have. Because I can understand them bumping people. I can understand like them like maybe getting a contract with a company and they want to put like ESPN or, you know, some kind of sponsored stream on the front page that they've got ties money-wise to. Yeah. But at least communicate with your creators. Communicate with the people that are supposed to be on front page and like tell them that you're doing that. That's been a tremendous hurdle, like thinking that maybe I had a place on the platform in the company's eyes, and then realizing that didn't happen. So that's been a lot. In terms of in terms of wins, I'd say, you know, I've loved doing stuff in general with a bunch of different amazing companies. The things that the relationships I've built with companies over the years have been amazing. Now more so than ever, you know, like I get to say that I've done work with Nintendo and Square Enix and like trying to get in with Capcom as well, but like I've been talking to Capcom and it's like, if you told Kid Me that one day like Nintendo's gonna send you like a Switch for nothing and video games for you to promote, and like Square Enix, the maker of one of your favorite series of all time, is gonna feature you in a campaign which brings a lot more people to your channel, like I would have been like, at first I would have said, wait, what are you talking about? What do you mean channel? What do you mean Twitch? What are you talking about? What is this? But like the fact that I even get to like work with them in like even parallel to anything that they're doing, not even directly but indirectly, is crazy to me. And like even 5 years ago I wouldn't have thought that was possible. And DE, you know, DE, Digital Extremes, fantastic company. Them featuring me so many times, and like even during TennoCon in front of like hundreds of thousands of people. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And I'm incredibly grateful for the things that they've done for me and the channel. So yeah. It's true. But just go ahead. I was just gonna say, other than that, just in general, the community I've built and like some of the best moments that I've had during like anniversary streams or birthdays, and them putting together like cameos from actors and like VAs that I admire and stuff, and just encouraging me and getting to meet people who work on video games that I'm fond of. I'm getting to like interact with creators that about 10 years ago that I used to just listen to their content and consume their content, and like now I'm considered like I don't know, like now I know them, and it's like it's really weird to me, and it's super cool. And sometimes it's like I still can't believe like how many good things have come from my time on the platform. Absolutely. So yeah.
You I have two different tangents to go down. And one is incredibly positive. I want to talk so much about your accomplishments and get into Warframe a little bit more. But before we go down that road, I want to wrap up our conversation about Twitch and come back to something that you've said. And it
just was limbering up.
Just are you ready for it?
All right,
it's about what's going on right now. The hate raids, the lack of I feel like action on the part of Twitch to deal with this, because it's a dangerous space. Like running this interview series was my effort of saying, you know, I want to speak on behalf of the group that I can speak on behalf of, and fight and show that women have a valuable space in gaming and in video games. And it's scary. Like every day I run these interviews, I think, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to come in here. I don't know the hate raid that's going to come. And I don't feel safe on the platform on which I stream. I imagine that this is something. This is probably that thing that you've been hinting towards, is the struggle that you're going through right now. Am I right in guessing that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does seem pretty all-encompassing at the moment. I
Yeah.
believe like the biggest hurdle, the biggest thing right now is just the feeling of helplessness and
Mhm.
uncertainty that there are for like marginalized creators on the platform, whether it's women or people of color or LGBTQIA plus people. Just the fact that for those of you who don't know the situation, by the way, so there's a lot of people out there that still don't know what's going on with the hate rates. Essentially, there are people orchestrating hate rates, which are hundreds to thousands of bot accounts all going into a channel at once, following all at once, and spamming hateful, bigoted messaging, transphobic, homophobic, racist messaging in channels. And some of you might think, well, it's not that big of a deal, because like surely there's tools to deal with that and stuff. And unfortunately, the way that Twitch works at the moment, there's very little creators can actually do other than say putting their chat into follower only mode, 10 minutes, so no new accounts who have just followed can actually chat in there. But because it's happening every single stream essentially, and it's hundreds to thousands of accounts at once, the streamer or the mod team then has to stop everything that they're doing for like 10 to 20 minutes and deal with that situation. Which, if it was every once in a while, like once in a blue moon, okay, granted, not that big of a deal, but at this point, it's almost every marginalized creator, and it's almost every stream. For some people, for some of the most vocal people who've been outspoken against it, like people of color, it's been constant and can be several times during stream, which is nightmarish to deal with. Absolutely nightmarish to deal with. And it's at the point where there's been such a lack of response from Twitch. They put out like a couple statements saying they're working on it, they're looking into it, that the whole situation just feels, again, helpless. There is like one for me is a feeling of exhaustion, because you can see the effect that this is actually having on communities. The streamers don't want to be subjected to that kind of abuse constantly, even if it was like a nice message, you know, or even if it was a message that wasn't like bigoted or racist or like in general, and it was just like a constant thing that was just getting like interrupting the stream. It's still time and effort taken out of that stream to stop everything and fix it. And that's before the abuse, you know, before the abusive messaging. So people are tired. Like, I'm tired as a creator of having to see it. I'm sad that and like heartbroken that so many people, like I've seen people saying, listen, I'm taking a break from Twitch. Listen, I can't deal with this. I'm going to quit Twitch. And it's heartbreaking to me that this platform, which is supposed to be an escape for a lot of people to get away from that bullshit in the real world, have to deal with that every single time that they go live now. And it's not fair. It's also not fair that like the largest creators aren't taking this seriously or don't know anything about the situation, because it doesn't affect them. And it feels like Twitch doesn't really care, because we're not the ones making the majority of revenue on their platform. And if this were happening to the top creators, they would make changes instantly.
Yeah. What do you feel is the emotional turmoil of streamers who are experiencing this?
Well, for me, I'd say there's just the general exhaustion that you feel from having to deal with it, because like you can say that it's words in a chat and it doesn't, like, they're only words, but the words have an effect. I try and remind myself that these are only a couple of people who are just using bot accounts, and like the majority of people are good. But when you see that same language used against you over and over and over again, it's going to take an emotional toll. You know, it's people aren't built to see that every day.
No.
Yeah, and the fact is that we don't have the the tools to deal with at the moment. Twitch still allows several accounts to be made from the same email for some
Right.
reason, and make an account on this platform. You don't even have to verify your account in a lot of cases. I don't think you have to verify your account at all. I know there's an option now where you can switch on email verification to actually type in chat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But outside of that, in general, I feel like you should need to at least verify your email before you're even allowed to chat on the platform.
Yeah.
Or like allowing people in their chats to, and only allow people who have enabled two-factor authentication to chat.
Yeah.
Or just holding messages from accounts that are just a string of random letters and then a bunch of random numbers, especially when they're new to the channel. There are features to deal with that. I mean, there's literally features in chat right now, which is like, if somebody speaks in chat for the first time, it's like, oh, this person is speaking in chat for the first time. Say hello to them. This is their first message.
Yeah.
The exact same thing could be done with with hate raids.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to just hold those messages and say, nah, we're not going to allow those through. We're not going to allow those through until they've been reviewed.
Yeah.
Just another way of using auto mod. There should be a way to do it. Now, is it feasible? I'm not a programmer, so I don't know. But there are a multitude of options that Twitch could put in right now.
Yeah.
Or that would take very little effort on Twitch's part to implement. But instead, they've chosen lack of communication, and which is for good reason, that they don't want to let the people who are botting in the first place know what they're putting in place. But again, it's like, to me, without them using clear and concise language to try and reassure us that this is something that they care about and that they're working on, it just feels like they're just trying to like sweep it aside and say, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. We're working on it,
Right.
It's not a reassurance at all, especially when it's destroying communities. I mean, I've definitely seen an impact on my viewership from when the hate raids started, because who is going to want to watch content, especially if you're part of those marginalized communities? And a lot of people who watch, other marginalized creators are part of those communities themselves. Who's going to want to watch a creator when you could be subjected to that kind of abuse in chat? You just go and watch YouTube or TikTok or something. I know it's not the same, but for a casual viewer who doesn't really, who watches it for a little bit of fun and isn't like invested in that community, they can switch off so easily. And I don't think that Twitch realizes the very real effect that this is having on those communities, and that it's having on its public image. I'm not sure if they have that knowledge, but this is definitely designed to drive marginalized creators off of the platform. Which makes it so difficult, because I'm trying to diversify, I'm trying to get out there and make sure that my income's coming from different revenue sources, which is definitely possible. But the majority of the income that I make is still coming from Twitch. So I can't jump ship, and a lot of people who are in my position can't just jump ship. And I don't think a lot of us would want to jump ship, because that's exactly the point of the hate raids. It's to get rid of us. So there's definitely a part of me which is just like standing in defiance, saying no, I will not go. I will not go quietly into the night onto another platform. But it doesn't make it any less
difficult,
exhausting.
Right.
So.
Right. Especially as you're standing there trying, like, you, as the leader of your community, as the streamer, you have to take the brunt of that hate to try to prevent it, because at the same time it's going to filter down to the members of your community that identify with you and identify with the people, or the hate, or who are being affected by the hate. And that can't be easy to stick around in a chat, even when they so support you, but having to take on that hate themselves. And so I can't imagine that your role in this it's by no means easy, and it's by no means fair. And so I my question at this point would be, what can we do? like both those who are part of the communities that are being affected, but those who aren't. What can we do?
Well, it's not a lot we can do, other than organize and like trying to create action. They did this with a day off Twitch, and that was positive. That was very, very helpful. But after that, like the conversation seems to have died down a little bit. And what we really need to do now is keep that conversation going.
Yep.
Make it so that that there's still media coverage, that there is still consistent pressure on Twitch to actually make changes. It would be nice to see larger creators, and like some did, like, again, take part in that protest, but I really want to see, personally, I want to see larger creators taking a stance and saying, hey, sort this out, this isn't okay. It'd be really good to see more creators do that. What you find though is sometimes the opposite. You have creators like Asmongold, for instance, and again, no hate against Asmongold. I have some opinions on his content, but he seems like a generally okay guy. But he made the mistake of making an uninformed opinion, an opinion made out of ignorance when it came to the protest, for instance. Instead of actually doing anything helpful, he said it was a bunch of, it wasn't going to do anything because it was a bunch of nobodies, like, who don't get any viewers, taking time off Twitch, taking a day off Twitch, and it would do nothing. And that he would only take part if all the other big streamers decided to take part too. The problem that I find there, and the thing that's so frustrating, is that they could have been that person to get the ball rolling, to start talking about this, to take it more seriously. But instead, because they weren't aware of the scope of the actual situation and what it's actually doing to people, as well as many other people have been in the same situation, many other large creators have commented on it without knowing just what it takes to deal with these things constantly every day. If he had actually spoke out in support, he could have been that person that got the ball rolling. He could have been that person that got others to like start helping out as well, but instead just chose to, for lack of a better word, be a dick about it. So yeah, not that I'm trying to start beef with Asmongold, but he definitely could have done something positive rather than just being critical of it. And it so happens that that bunch of nobodies who started that protest got almost the viewership that day dropped by almost 1 million people. I know, 1 million views.
It did make an
impact.
Which was
it did
have a voice.
And so many media outlets wrote about it as well, and is now more aware of what's going on. And that's the thing. It's not. I found a lot of like larger creators and more business focused creators being like, oh yeah, well, this isn't really going to have an effect because, people don't sub that day, people don't watch that day, they watch the next day, they give their money to Twitch the next day. It doesn't really matter to Twitch, does it? And it's like, that's not the point. The point is to raise awareness and get a conversation started. The point is to point a big sign at a situation that's being ignored and say, this is what's happening. And I thought for what it was tremendously successful. And definitely not performative like some creators said it was. It's so like in terms of like what average people can do, move your supports off of Twitch. Like if you're subbing, creators should be diversifying where they get their money from via like either Patreon or Fan House or just. I do a lot of work with sponsors now, so I get a lot of opportunity to work with companies that sponsor me for playing games and things. So a chunk of my income comes from there, but actively encouraging people to like move their money off of subs on Twitch or bits on Twitch to other platforms is what I would suggest. The only issue with that is like a lot of people, they have like emotional feelings tied to those creators on Twitch. In terms of, I have a sub streak, I have a first badge, I don't want to lose these things, I have all the emotes, and it's a signifier that I am somebody in this community, and it's a signifier of my support, so I think that's a tremendously huge ask to ask like your community to move their money away from that platform, away from Twitch. But it's difficult but that would be the best suggestion. It's just a really hard ask for people.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate you talking especially about the blackout, because I feel like that was a tense time, like across Twitter and on Twitch, and I really liked what you said. It's not about shutting down Twitch. It's not about disciplining or punishing Twitch with numbers or viewers. It's just about raising awareness. It's about getting your voice out there in a really impactful way.
Yeah, it's a little bit telling that like some of the larger creators, their first thought was like looking for ways to punish the platform.
Right.
That's what the whole point of it was. There's some kind of like retribution, or we're gonna get our own back at Twitch. Like, I don't know where that kind of like thinking comes from. I can only suppose, but I won't say what those presumptions are here. But yeah, it's difficult when people presume so much about things that they have no knowledge about.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I feel like online as well, especially on Twitch, people are so willing to give like a crappy, uninformed take, because it's live, and you gotta get it out there. You gotta get your opinion out there straight away. You know, you gotta jump on that bandwagon, at least talk about it, so you're not out of the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's just which is also exhausting. It's like, because that's also how misinformation spreads. But that's besides the point. That's a huge other tangent. So.
I really appreciate you talking about this and sharing more information with this community and with me. I really, really value that. And thank you for continuing to be a voice in this way, because it's not easy, but yet you continue to do it. So thank you.
I've done a lot less than others have. If you actually want to like see people out there that are actually like taking stands, the organizers of the actual protests are wonderful people. There's Wreck-It Raven, you can Google. You can search for on Twitter. Lucia Everbeck as well, who I've known, who was also part of like the trans tag movement for a while, actually helped built the peer-to-peer platform, which was what was there, the tool that was in place before Twitch decided to implement tags. These are all wonderful people that you should definitely be going out and follow if you want to know more about these situations and things that you can actually do to help. So
thank you. Awesome. Thank you. I hope you guys got those names. Can we see, is there a place to find these names on your Twitter as well? Do you talk like, or is it I don't think I've like retweeted, like I just absorb that I guess, and then like and then just like talk about stuff, I guess, and like add my own 2 cents. I should really I could like retweet their stuff actually. Can you give me their names one more time?
Yeah, I'll type them out in chat.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I want to like write them down and go and follow them. Thank you. Moving on from this topic, though, feel free to come back to it if your mind goes there again. But I want to talk about all of your incredible accomplishments that you were mentioning before, starting with your sponsorships, which are incredible. Sneak sponsorship is one of the big ones, and I know a few people in chat wanted to know the brands of Sneak that you recommend. So let's start there. Let's start with Sneak. How did that come about?
Sneak. Oh, okay. So I saw the whole Sneak thing came up because I drank a lot of energy drinks. Like in general, and I'd never tried Sneak, and I saw another content creator who I happen to know, Obi Katie Cat, was sponsored by Sneak. I thought, I wonder what this is all about. You know what? I'd seen their advertisements like popping up on Instagram and places like this, like just in general, just talking about how it was something that was made in the UK and didn't have any of the crap that was in the other powdered energy drink brands, and that you could save money, like just going this direction instead of constantly doing what I used to do, which was buying cans of like Monster Energy and like chugging those, which is extremely unhealthy. So much sugar. But so I thought it'd be interesting to try a sugar-free alternative. So I tried the product and I was like, this is great, loving this. I'm going to get a sponsorship from them. So I just ended up creating like Twitter content around it and constantly like DMing. Well, not constantly DMing, but I kept like DMing them about, you know, hey, I know your partnership thing. What's going on with that? What can I do to get into that, you know? And eventually, first they kind of like just brushed me aside and said, we're not really taking partners at the moment. And then after a while, they ended up giving me an email address, and it was like, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, you want to be a partner? Cool. You like what we do, and we like what you do. So yeah, that's how that started. And they're really cool as a sponsor. Every now and then they'll just send you like free product to consume, and you get like a profit sharing thing from them. I won't say exactly how much it is. I don't think I can actually disclose that via my contract, but they allow you to like basically profit share, which is again, it's kind of like just like another affiliate thing.
Yeah.
But it's a good product that I use daily.
Yeah.
So it's not like the most amazing money in the world, but it's a nice little chunk of change to have on the side every month,
Yeah.
The thing that's really impacted that at the moment is Brexit. And since that's happened, they actually don't ship out to the EU at the moment. They legally can't until like certain things get cleaned up. So it's really frustrating because I have a lot of people in Europe who watch my stream and actually can like want to buy Sneak and they can't right now, which is hilarious. I'm actually, I have water in this right now, but flavors that I recommend, I really love, oh god, what is it called? Sour apple. Sour apple is one of my top ones, and strawberry watermelon are two of my favorites.
Ooh, those sound so good. Do they ship out to the US and Canada?
They do. They have
excellent.
US-based shipping. Canada, I don't think they do at the moment. But yeah.
But UK and US essentially are their big markets.
UK and US right now. There was Europe until Brexit, but they're working on getting that sorted again. So, but yeah, if you want to buy anything from Sneak, you can head over to sneakenergy.com or .co.uk and use code Miabyte, and it gets me a little bit of a kickback.
Use the code Miabyte.
Yeah,
do it.
They do, and not to shill too much, but they have like a taster pack on there, and that's actually how I tried a bunch of stuff. Is you get like a shaker and a bunch of different like sachets of the different flavors that you can try. So that's why I would recommend it first.
Yeah.
If you actually want to give it a go. So yeah.
Thank you.
I like to mix soda water with mine as well, so I can pretend it's a regular energy drink rather than just a still energy drink. So.
You make it fizzy for yourself.
Yeah,
That's
the best way of
perfect.
doing that though is like put a little bit of water into the mixture first, then mix that up, and then add the fizzy water.
The fizzy water. That's a good
Mm.
idea. I like that idea. That would make it so much better. That's the one thing about powdered energy drink. I'm like, I need the fizz. I need the carbonation. It's excellent.
You could always try a soda stream, but I imagine that would not end well.
Yeah,
so.
that was my next thought. I'm like, oh no, a soda stream won't work for this. Actually, I wonder though if you put in the powder after you carbonate the water with the soda stream, if it would like bubble over.
I think I think it would.
Yeah.
Like anytime that you're adding like the energy drink powder to like the carbonated stuff, it's like it froth and just fizz, and it's so I try and keep that down quite a bit.
So Sneak is one of your major sponsors, and you also recently I'm not sure how recent it is, but you've partnered up with Nintendo. Tell us all about that. That's such an exciting opportunity.
Okay, so I don't necessarily consider them like an official partner or anything, but like I have a back and forth kind of like contacts over there that essentially like send me, which is crazy. It's like they literally just send me all the new releases. And when Monster Hunter came out, they sent me a Monster Hunter Switch as well for me to just showcase and do an unboxing and like review on my YouTube channel, which is crazy because like my YouTube channel doesn't get any views, but it's like really cool that they recognize that that I am a massive Nintendo fan.
Yeah.
Just off the screen there's like so many Nintendo plushies literally just like above.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And like a dedicated Zelda and dedicated Metroid shelf too. So I'm a massive Nintendo fan, so it's like a dream come true just to even like get free product from Nintendo.
Absolutely.
Even though it's like they've not ever offered me like any paid stuff yet. They've never offered any paid sponsorships. But the fact that like Nintendo games don't come down in price, I'm saving a lot of money right there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. That's incredible. Have you loved Nintendo since you were a kid? When did you jump on the bandwagon?
One of the first systems that we had in our households, other than like the Atari 7800 and the Amiga PC, was an NES for a number of years. So I used to play Super Mario Brothers and like the original Legend of Zelda before I even like that. Those were some of my first video game experiences, and it kind of always stuck with me. I switched to then there was Pokemon, obviously, on the Game Boy, so I played a lot of like a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. With consoles, I switched to PlayStation for a bit because I wanted to play Crash Bandicoot really badly, so I missed out on the N64. But then, but I was going to get a PS2, but I decided to get a GameCube when I went to my local movie theater, and they had a kiosk set up just as the GameCube was coming out with a demo of Super Smash Bros. Melee. And I'm like, wait, I know these characters. I know Mario. Yeah. I know Link from my from the Game Boy Advance games that I play. I know Pikachu from all my Pokemon games. Let's jump into I'm getting a GameCube now because I wanted to see them fight each other. And then literally it's just been like Nintendo consoles ever since.
Absolutely, yeah. What is your favorite all-time Nintendo game? Do you have one?
Oh God, that's difficult. The favorite series I'd definitely say is Legend of Zelda. Game in that series, I really love Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker for 3D games, and 2D games. I have a super soft spot for Link's Awakening.
Oh.
Yeah, that was one of the Game Boy games that I played like super early on, and like I thought it was the first Zelda game that I ever played until I realized that I had the original Legend of Zelda on the NES years later. In fact, I was so heartbroken because the NES disappeared from my house at one point. A little bit of a side story, and I think my dad just sold it, and for years I thought he'd sold all the cartridges too. Turns out the games had just sat in our garage, open to the elements, for about a decade, longer than a decade. And so I had the original Legend of Zelda Gold cartridge.
Oh no!
And when I got it out, it was like the paint was like all chipped away, and it actually broke my heart because I couldn't remember owning the game. And I was like, surely Link's Awakening was the first one I remember playing. But yeah, other than that, like Link's Awakening has a very, very special place in my heart. I kind of relate to the story of that, the idea of escapism and like escaping into this dream world where you have to then make the decision about whether or not you want to stay there, or if you like, in terms of the narrative, like you're kind of forced to go through one route, but in terms of the questions that it asks, the broader questions of are the things in dreams real? Do they have any impact on reality? How is it, if they're real to you, does that make them real? And Link choosing to wake up from that dream destroys everything there. And like the moral implications of a game that's made for like children, it like really stuck with me. And I kind of love that. And the idea of like escapism too. A lot of what I did when I was younger was literally just throwing myself into video games and escapism because of trying to come to terms with this whole situation. So a lot of what drew me to video games in the first place was that element of escapism, of like creating your own characters and being whoever that you wanted to be at a time when I couldn't externally communicate these internal feelings that didn't make any sense to me. So
that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What a incredible connection to video games, and it speaks to the importance of video games, I think, like for many of us, but especially our youth. Like they're struggling with things, and video games can give them not only that escape, but if video games are done right, they can give them a space that they can identify with.
Definitely.
Do you recommend any video games for persons who are maybe trying to understand LGBTQIA community, or who identify as part of that community? Are there video games that have touched you specifically in that way?
Well, again, I know a lot of queer video games from the work that I do with Gaming Mag. A lot of them tend to be like indie games. It's nice to see there are more video games with queer characters coming to the forefront again, like Last of Us 2 and like the Apex Legends is fantastic for like its inclusion in terms of characters. If you really want to get to know like LGBTQIA plus experiences or just seeing them as characters, I'd say the Life is Strange series is pretty good. There's actually a new one came out yesterday. Who the main character is LGBTQ plus, but a lot of them are going to be indie games. Games like I Can Fell. Oh god, what else? I Can Fell is kind of like a Harry Potter-esque RPG without all the turfy stuff.
Ooh.
So yeah. There's I can't remember the name of the game, but there's definitely one I'd recommend, and it's about I can't remember what it's called, but it's got this beautiful imagery. I haven't played it myself, but it's about somebody floating in space, and you're essentially going into their memories and like seeing parts of their life. But that's supposed to be really good. I can't remember what it's called though, and if anybody knows, I could always look it up. I think it was actually nominated for one of the gaming magazine's LGBTQ Game of the Year awards. In fact, if you want to see any games to get you into like for LGBTQIA plus experiences, look at Gaming Magazine, gamingmagazine.com. GAY, by the way, that's gay as in gay. Gamingmagazine.com. They do a lot of articles, and that literally, if you just search for the awards in their search thing, it'll probably come up with all the award winners, which they did like just games of the year in general, and they just did like LGBTQI focused games. A lot of the stuff on there is going to be cool to jump into. Not to say that, you know, I want to dispel this idea, because there's this idea for regular people, for some instance, that sees like the inclusion of queer characters or like people of color as some kind of agenda. Well, I just want to dispel that, where that's not the case at all. It's just like, again, we like to see ourselves reflected in media just as much as you. And I also get frustrated when a video game puts forward a character whose whole reason for being, or a film, for instance, puts forward a character with a whole reason for them being there is just LGBTQIA plus. That they're just gay. That's their only character trait. Right. A lot of people think the same way. Is that we would much rather have inclusiveness and normalize queer characters just through having them as part of the story in a main role. You don't necessarily need to delve into their backstory, into, you know, queer defining who they are, because again, like I say, people first, you know. But they should also be in video games and media, because we exist, you know, and we're part of the world, and it would be nice for video game companies to try and help and normalize seeing us. But the constant is there's always pushback from toxic gamers that it's some kind of agenda, or you know, like, this isn't realistic, even though
it's reality.
I think it's because like some people are so sheltered and that they've never met like a trans person or a queer person in real life, that it's just something that they can't necessarily accept, you know. Or don't understand, because they're just have that level of ignorance, which is unfortunate. So it would be nice to see more games companies, and again, like Twitch itself, pushing for more diverse faces, because the end goal is normalization. Having people being able to be like featured on the front page of Twitch without receiving racist abuse, having a game come out which has a diverse cast of characters without somebody saying, oh, it's the queer agenda, it's pushing social justice politics on people. No, it's just a character in a video game, mate. I don't know what you're so worried about, you know. I imagine like it's like, are you so insecure in yourself? There's not enough media that's catered to you already that you can't accept this. It's like, I don't know.
That's frustrating.
It's it is frustrating. But like but at the same time, there's again, people presuming what your beliefs are going to be. It's I don't believe queer people want characters where their defining characteristics is just that they're gay or queer or anything like that. We want interesting stories told with characters that maybe look like us in video games. That's all it is. And for a lot of devs, that's probably all it is as well. You know?
Yeah. And it makes total sense. Like to have video games and films and entertainment and media that represent the population as it is, rather than a very small subset of it, I think is so important for humanity, period. I agree.
Definitely.
There was a couple of suggestions in chat about that video game, Ace in Space and Bright Memory. Do either of those ring a bell?
Ace in Space definitely rings a bell.
That could be it.
It might be If Found. It might be a different game. The If Found's a really good game as well, I've heard. So yeah, definitely check that out.
But this is a great moment to talk about Gaming Magazine, because there's a lot of things that people can find if they go over there. So tell me more about the Gaming Magazine and podcast and your involvement in it.
So Gaming Magazine is literally just a online magazine that does articles about like queer geek culture. That it literally just rebranded as being like the home of queer geek culture, and apparently I'm a little bit to thank for that, because they just didn't want to concentrate on video games anymore.
Awesome.
Because I kept pushing more stuff that wasn't video games into the podcast, which is funny. But yeah, they have a podcast on Twitch essentially that runs every 2 weeks on a Sunday, and I am one of the hosts of that.
Awesome.
It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. We just literally just shoot the shit about all the stuff in the world of queer geeky games and media. It's but we can talk about whatever we want on the show. There is a skew towards like LGBTQIA plus content. But every week we have a different guest, whether it's a different LGBTQIA plus streamer. They also did DigiPride, like Gaming Magazine. Like the scope of it has expanded like amazingly now. They did an IRL event called DigiPride 1 year, which I didn't get to go to, but because of COVID, they digitized it. So I can't remember what it was called before. I think it was just like Gaming Magazine's like Pride Celebrate, I don't know, but then it became DigiPride. So DigiPride runs every year from I believe it's like July to August, or June through to August. So it spans that whole area, because they didn't want to just like contain it to Pride Month. They wanted multiple months, just to celebrate and say, listen, we're not constrained to 1 month a year, because you know, you're queer all year round. So they had that whole thing, and through that we've had a lot of guests from like the industry on, just talking about what they do, as well as having guests from different streamers, people from over at Xbox, Sega, all sorts, and we just like interview them. We do some fun things on there. We talk about all the new news and things that we've been doing that week, but it's been really cool. It's allowed me to get my presenter chops on, my interviewer chops, and just talk to a bunch of amazing cool people. And
it's important
really
work.
Cool.
That's awesome. How did you get involved?
Well, funnily enough, they reached out to me a number of years ago for one of their streamer spotlights, and essentially what that was is an interview that they would put up on the Gaming Magazine website. And then based on that, they then said that they were doing live recorded podcasts where they needed like guests on there, and every now and then I would be like a guest co-host with me, and like there's like 3 or 4 people depending on the podcast. Sometimes they would record in London, sometimes they would record in Birmingham, and sometimes when they would record in Birmingham, I was so close by, it was like, hey, do you want to come on for this show? And I was like, yeah, sure. Then when COVID happened, that all stopped. And they were like, okay, well, we want to keep this going, and we want to run it on Twitch. So they came to me for information on how best to get this set up, and and essentially my producer, my other co-host Robin, whose last name I've completely forgotten, because I just know him as Robin.
Yeah.
He's the producer and co-host. He came to me and said, "Listen, like, would you like to do this? Because like you're local to the area, you know a lot more about Twitch than I do. Would you be willing to like jump on and like co-host this with me?" And that's how that got started. And since then, it's just been a lot of fun. We're actually on hiatus at the moment. It actually kind of like upset me a little bit. The last one was a week ago on Sunday, but you can find all these via the Gaming Magazine website, and they've got all the older episodes on all the the podcast platforms now, I think. So you can hear my terrible opinions like wherever you like.
Go, yeah.
But there's a VODs on the twitch.tv/gaming mag channel too. You can check out the live VODs there. There's always technical issues. I don't think we've had a stream without technical issues at this point. I don't know if they're edited out of the podcasts, the audio podcasts, but it's always funny and amazing. And yeah, I've just had so much fun with it. Yeah. And I'm just sad that we're not going to be able to do it till December now.
Why the hiatus?
We just needed a break.
Yeah.
So Robin again runs everything over at Gaming Mag. He used to be the editor over there, has now got a new editor over there to handle everything, but was also managing all like the DigiPride stuff too, which is like, because it's such a huge event and you're dealing with so many people also while running a podcast, we just needed a little bit of a break to like kind of decompress. Pride Month for LGBTQ streamers is a lot, and it's exhausting because it's the only time when people want to get in touch and say, hey, we want to sponsor you to do a thing. Would you like to be involved in an interview? Would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? We're doing these charity things. Do you want to be a part of an LGBTQIA plus charity thing? And of course, because I'm a creator who wants to get themselves out there, I'm like, yes to everything. Yep. Within reason. So we both agreed that we should take a break for a bit.
Needed a break.
Just to recover. Yeah.
Absolutely. But all of the content is completely consumable still to everybody through Gaming Magazine website and through the Twitch, so they can go back, and through podcasts. Anywhere where you consume podcasts, you can go back and listen to those incredible episodes. What are some of the topics or maybe even issues that you tackle on these in these conversations?
Oh, we've spoken about all sorts of things. We spoke about the trans tag stuff. We spoke about these hate raids on this last episode because they've been going on for so long now.
Right.
That we spoke about everything that happened with the hate raids and the protests. Oh God, I have a terrible memory, but usually if there is some big news, we spoke about the Blizzard Activision debacle that went on, how they were being abusive to staff members. But if there's anything big and includes industry news that includes exploitation or of people, or just things that aren't going right in the industry, or things we'd like to see more of, or just positive stories about changes being made that help the queer community or marginalized communities, we talk about that. So it's and a lot of Marvel. We talk about a lot of Marvel.
Good. Excellent.
I talked about a lot of Genshin for a while I was playing that in Final Fantasy 14. So and Robin really likes Borderlands and the Lego games. So you'll hear a lot about that on the podcast as well.
Oh, excellent. Those are all incredible topics. Love it. Awesome. Thank you. And so guys, make sure you go out and drop a follow. You can follow the podcast, right? Even if you went to Spotify, you could find the podcast, follow it, and get updates on when the episodes come out.
I believe so. I haven't tried it myself. I don't tend to listen to the podcast because I'm on it.
You're on it. So, that's fair. You already know what was said.
I'm assuming maybe. I've never actually looked into where you can actually get it, but it's just available on all good podcast providing services. The line that we use. So wherever Robin has put it, but I imagine it's probably on Spotify.
Perfect.
Maybe. Or Apple Podcasts, or I don't know.
All of any of the.
I should probably look into that. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, but even if you went to, you guys have the links to the Gaming Twitch and Gaming Magazine. You can go there and make sure you guys find them and drop those follows and listen in. Next topic, Warframe. I want to talk about a little bit. One of the first opportunities I had to get to know you was actually Warframe 2020, TennoCon 2020, I should say. And you were featured as one of the hosts on TennoCon 2020, which was such an incredible opportunity I can imagine and experience. Tell me
it was
more.
pretty insane.
Yeah.
It was co-hosting the art show with Megan.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely cool. I was shitting myself whenever I get nervous. I tend to say like a million times. Probably, as you've heard during this conversation, I've said like during parts where I'm nervous, like
do that all the time, like there.
consistently, and it's just that was definitely one of the things that I took away from that as well. It's like you say like way too much, and I was super embarrassed about it, but yeah. But that was an amazing opportunity to be in front of that many people.
Yeah.
But I was so nervous at the time. But yeah, it's so great that to know the people over there at DE, again, like Reb and Megan, and like getting to meet them in person at past IRL events before the pandemic. I still haven't met Reb IRL. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Because not only is she adorable and a cool human being, also super into Final Fantasy 14, just like myself. So, yeah, just amazing. Who wouldn't want to meet Space Bomb in person?
Right? I mean, come on. Yeah, I have all of my hopes set on TennoCon 2022 as being in person. Have you made it to TennoCon? You've made it to TennoCons before.
I've never been to a TennoCon. No, the first year I was supposed to go, and I was trying to encourage them to fly me out for. Was TennoCon 2020, but then what happened, and yeah, I think that's why they chose to highlight me instead. So yeah,
that's fair.
It would be really cool. And I'd love to meet like so many people from the community, and just like all the friends that I've made, whether or not it's certain friends like Antonio Greco, by the way, voice of Era. He and I are very good friends now, as are me and not that I'm flexing, but me and I've gotten to be friends with so many lovely people. There's Tamara Fritz, who's the voice of Yudiko in the game, and a number of the voices. Lucas Schunemann, who is Tarragor, and
the voice of everything.
The voice of everything, pretty much. Yeah. And he's great too. And also, why have I forgotten their name? Oh Lord, daughter.
I was gonna say it's daughter, right? Kim.
Yeah.
Kim.
Yeah. Yes, Kim. Kim's amazing.
Ramon.
Love Kim.
Yeah.
Kim Ramon.
Yes.
She's fantastic. We actually did a D&D short last year with it was me, Lucas, Antonio, and Kim did a charity one-shot D&D session called The Spirit of Wintervale last year, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had, and hopefully we'll be doing that again this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I've only spoken to Lucas so far, but I'm hoping that we could do maybe something for like October or Halloween-y, which would be really, really cool. Yeah.
Okay, I will be anxiously anticipating that. That's very exciting. Those opportunities are wonderful and hilarious. Like from what I've watched and witnessed, it's pretty fantastic.
I feel kind of bad actually, because I don't think I've touched Warframe in a while, and I still have like these bonds with people in the community, which makes me feel so happy.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for the new war to finally come out. That would be good. Because as cool as Deimos was, I wasn't really into the way that was structured. I don't like conservation, so having conservation be a part of the game that you have to play in order to progress, in order to get a part of a really key part of the system, the helmet system, behind like obfuscated tiers of like relationship, what do they call them, those reputation systems, right. I felt like it didn't really respect my time, so I kind of fell out a little bit with that.
That's very fair.
Other than that, like Railjack, I had really high expectations of Railjack, and it fell so short compared to what they showed off originally. And I don't know. I think I built it up too much in my own head. Like I expected it to be like Sea of Thieves,
Yeah,
but
but on
Warframe.
ships.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would go from like planet to planet, or like from areas that you can jump out on and run around and actually do things that are meaningful.
Yeah.
But it came this like slapdash kind of just like rinse and repeat style
Experience.
gameplay that was also a grind, and I just didn't really dig that. I really, really want to love Warframe, but I'm finding it really hard to like jump back in and just like feel connected with the game at the moment until there's like meaningful content out with it again. So I don't know, but I'm hoping the new war changes that.
Me too. And you're not the first creator I've spoken to who's felt this way. It's the beautiful part about Warframe is the community. It keeps you connected. It keeps you grounded. You're just like, I will always feel this way about the game, even when it's not always meeting my expectations as a player.
Definitely, and it's fantastic as a game in itself, and the fact that it's a free-to-play game that's almost, I'd say, what is it, like 9 years old now, something like that?
Yeah, 2013.
Like 7, 8.
I want to say.
Yeah, so it's like 8 years old now.
Yeah.
It is insane that it's actually like lasted so long and like stood the test of time.
Yeah.
With the constant iterations and updates and things, and I'm so proud of everything that they've accomplished over there at DE. Considering that they came at a time which was like a real, I hear it was a real low point for the company. It was like a shot in the dark to get it actually made, and they wanted to make it for such a long time too. So I'm so proud of what they've built over there and like the opportunities that it's provided me too. So I will always love Warframe.
Yes.
I'm just not necessarily in love with it at the moment. So
that's fair. And your love. Actually, I'm gonna ask you the one obligatory Warframe question. What is your favorite Warframe?
Oh, Baruch. I'm the one true Baruch main.
Oh, tell me why.
That's it. I'm the only person I know that plays Baruch. That's the only thing.
It's the only reason why I love him.
This is the thing, like when Baruch came out, everybody thought that it was a bit of a joke, and nobody actually took Baruch seriously. And it was only after, and like I stood there and I was like, no, Baruch is good. Yep. Baruch is so good. His 4 just like absolutely destroys people. And it was only after the glitch came out where I believe it was the melee counter, which you could just exponentially make the melee counter go up very, very quickly by and then transfer that combo over to Baruch's 4. That people started saying, yeah, Baruch's great. Baruch can absolutely destroy. And it's like, yeah, I knew this all along.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Weren't you listening to me, people? Yeah. That's awesome. And so now you've moved in. Final Fantasy is like a big passion of yours. And what are some of the other games that you've begun exploring?
Well, I just try and keep it like fast and loose. At the moment, it was it's Final Fantasy 14. Earlier on, it was like Genshin. I kind of like float from game to game. That just takes my eye.
Yeah.
A lot of games are like one and done. So I played 12 minutes recently, but that was a weird game.
Was it?
That was a weird game. Yeah, I have some. Have you played it yet?
No, I don't know what it is.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
But essentially, you're a character that's stuck in a time loop, but you could do some. It should come with content warnings because you can do some horrifying things in that game.
Oh no.
Because it's a time loop, there are no consequences. So yeah, and it's amazing the amount of like thought they've put into different situations and what you can actually do in that game. It's essentially a point and click puzzle game.
Okay.
So like your old school like point and click adventure games, but it's from a top down perspective. But you're trying to find the key for getting out of this time loop by using items and learning information and then using that in the next loop. The story itself is very, very weird, and it goes to some weird places, and it's pretty predictable. Like about halfway through, I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to be what happens?" And then that happens, and that turns out to be what the mystery it's building around it is because of. But it ends in a very, very weird way. I still don't know how I feel about that game. There are some choices that take it from being a great game down to like a good game, you know. And for some reason they included Daisy Ridley, Willem Dafoe, and James McAvoy as like as the voices in the game. It doesn't make any
Really?
sense because I mean Willem Dafoe's great. Willem Dafoe's always great. And Daisy Ridley and James McAvoy are putting on these horrifying American accents, which are passable. But at that point, you could have gotten anybody to do those roles. Like, it's not exactly a game that requires a lot from the voice acting within it, and because they're putting on American accents too, you don't really know. You kind of like just forget that it's them. So it seems a little bit pointless to have them other than just having like the names. It really feels like somebody had a connection there and was doing somebody else a favor in order to get these people involved. It doesn't really add that much to it, to be fair. Willem Dafoe's great though. I love Willem Dafoe. You know, I would have get rid of Daisy Ridley and James McAvoy. Nothing against them, but they could have been replaced with anybody.
I would do it just for Willem. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Gotta have that Green Goblin in your game.
I now feel like more compelled to play this. I'm gonna go look into it. Even your ambiguity on whether or not you love it makes me even more curious. I need to experience
I definitely
this.
don't. I enjoyed it. I definitely don't want to say I loved it, especially because of the choices that they went with the narrative. But I definitely feel like it should be something that's experienced. But know that content warning. That there is murder. There is potentially suicide. There is a lot of messed up stuff, and it's down to the choices that you personally want to make. So yeah.
So choose wisely.
Exactly. But yeah, I played that recently. I don't know why I just went into a whole thing about 12 minutes. But yeah, that was fun. But Final Fantasy 14 has been eating up like so much of my time recently. I literally just like jumping straight into that. The Pixel remaster of Final Fantasy 4 came out, so we started playing that too because the next expansion to 14, Endwalker, has a lot of influence from 4. So I wanted to take my community through that and say, listen, pay attention. You're going to be seeing this stuff in the next expansion. So yeah, let's go. And I love Final Fantasy 4. It's one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. So
have you been a Final Fantasy fan for a long time?
Since 7. So the first game that came out in PAL regions was actually 7. And literally, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even see any of the marketing for it. Apparently, there was a huge marketing campaign for it, which is essentially what like kicked JRPGs into like the populace. Final Fantasy 7 was the game changer. But when I got it, it was literally, I got my PlayStation, I got Crash Bandicoot, and I also got this weird game called Final Fantasy 7 with it that I didn't know anything about. And I couldn't play it at first because the circle button was the confirm button, the X button was the cancel button, and I couldn't figure out that because I was like 10 at the time, and I couldn't figure out why I needed to hit everything else, use the X button, and like the circle button was because it was like Japanese controls, which they didn't change for the for the UK and European regions for some reason. But that was the first one that was released, and then the older games were released after that in PAL regions. So I ended up like playing the older games via either the DS or the Game Boy Advance, which is why I have more of a love for 7 than any of the other games in the series, because a lot of it is like nostalgia based, but you develop a attachment to these characters and the worlds, and it was such a cool like story, which is like still relevant today, about some eco-terrorist freedom fighters fighting against a mega corporation that is exploiting global resources that is eventually going to destroy the planet. Like, that's totally relevant today and totally political. This is what I don't get about people say there's no politics in video games. Like, one of my favorite games from 1997 or 8, I can't remember what year it came out, literally is an allegory for climate change and the effects that like corporations are having on the world, and how they exploit people, and how corporations exploit people. And also it's got the same thing every other Final Fantasy game is like criticism of religion and invading forces coming in, and because of Japan's history, they include that in every single Final Fantasy game. But it's really cool. Like, I really love that still holds up today now more than ever. Yeah, and the fact that people can say, yeah, there's no politics in video games. Like, my video games didn't used to have politics is a ridiculous notion. Same people who don't like having queer characters in their games.
Oh,
funny that.
Is that the group people? Yeah. Okay.
Your gamers TM. I don't know if you've heard the phrase gamers TM.
Tell me.
Capital G gamers, they're also referred to as. Go watch Jim Sterling. Jim Sterling as well. Jim Stephanie Sterling is absolutely fantastic. If you don't know them, they've been putting out content for years. They used to be on The Escapist back in the day. But they do if you want to know things about the industry and see all the crap that goes on in the industry and what pushback we should be doing against the crappy things that happen in the industry, the Jimquisition. It's fantastic. It's just a show on YouTube, Jim Sterling, who's actually now a non-binary person now, which is actually really, really awesome. They just recently transitioned this year. It came out as non-binary this year, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, they're great, and they also use the term capital G gamers or gamers TM, which I think I tried to put into the conversation as well as just adding the trademark onto the end. I'm not sure if I'm the first person who did that, but I definitely pushed it. Yeah. But yeah, now all your toxic gamer bros are known as gamers TM. Yeah. Good. So yeah, and when people say that they hate gamers, those are the kind of people that they're talking about. Like, it's very easy to say, gamers are the worst, but that it means, the racist, homophobic, Xbox Live, lobby gamers are the same types of people. And these aren't necessarily all the same types of people, but they kind of cross over a lot. Yeah. That, push against diversity in video games, push against any kind of politics, being included or any, because they just want escapism and having to think about nothing ever, because that's always the way that video games have been, apparently, which, as we all know, isn't true. So, yeah. Thank you. Now I know. Now that I hear that term, I'll know what it means. Excellent. Alex, so we're about to get into the questions from chat, but I wanted to ask, just in case we run out of time, I wanted to ask you this. For those who are looking to enter into the realm of streaming, who are women, who are trans women, what advice can you give to them? What do you say to them in words of encouragement as they enter this space? Relevant. Use Restream.io if you're going to stream, and stream to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify your content. Make sure you're making content on multiple platforms, and whatever takes off, takes off. If you really want to do this and you want to do this successfully, and I don't even consider myself doing this successfully, try and make content for either YouTube or TikTok while also simultaneously live streaming. Your live stream should be supplementing, like, it should be an addition to the other stuff that you're doing. It shouldn't be the main focus, unless you're in a position like me where it literally is the main focus and now you're trying to diversify out of that. But you don't want to be tied down. Don't become a Twitch affiliate straight away. You don't want to be tied down to one platform. That's going to limit your creativity and limit your ability to expand and get a larger audience. Because it could turn out that you, if you just continued using Restream or something, you could have taken off on YouTube, especially if you make YouTube videos on the side, and then maybe that becomes your hub to be successful. When it comes to dealing with trolls and stuff, on the YouTube side, because of the hate raid stuff, I would never say this, but wait. See how this situation turns out first. I would maybe wait a month or two before getting started. When it comes to generally dealing with trolls and things, know the tools that you have, and just put together a good mod team of people that you can trust. There are so many wonderful people on the platform in your future if you decide to go down the live streaming route that you're going to be able to meet and interact with. And I've probably had some of the most fulfilling friendships via my time on Twitch than anything else that I've ever experienced, because it's real. They're there for you, and you're there for them and the people that you meet, unless it's fake networking relationships for clout, which happens sometimes. a lot of it is going to be extremely meaningful.
Yeah.
And I definitely would encourage that. But again, know that what you're getting into, if you're getting into it for fun and games, expect it to be fun and games. If you're getting into it to make money, if you're getting into it to make a career, know that it's a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of actually knowing what you're doing and practice to actually get to a point where you can just be good at what you're doing. And it has a tremendous impact on mental health too, as we've discussed today. And outside of like the hate rate thing, it's literally like you're going to be concerned about numbers and metrics, and if you're doing a good job or if you're failing. Or currently, like, my numbers have been going down a bit. I'm like, oh god, is this the end? No. You need to learn to like take a step back and just like try and unwind and relax a little bit too, and just be aware of yourself and your needs, and you know, being kind to yourself as well. Don't expect to come onto the platform and be the hot new shit, because it's so hard to grow now, which is again why I say diversify and make sure you're trying to grow in multiple places at once. And then whatever niche you find, lean into that, you know, and then that's where your audience is. Go to wherever your audience is, but you need to cast a wide net to figure out where that is.
Yeah. Thank you. That's incredible advice. The diversification topic is huge right now, especially with streamers who are looking to expand and find alternate means of income. So it's like the best advice right now as you're entering into this space. I completely agree. Okay, I'm gonna pull up these questions. I'm a little worried it's going to cause you to go away. Oh, no, it didn't. Perfect. Perfect. Good. Okay, so some questions that popped up in chat. They're a little bit you know, all over the place as they've been from our conversations as they've happened. But this one is it goes like this. I know everyone is different, but what would you say is the best way to ask questions regarding trans people in a way that doesn't put the person on the spot or make them feel uncomfortable?
I think, well, that, like, it's very contextual, what you're saying. Sorry, it's not contextual. It's very situational. It really depends on if that's a topic of conversation that's ongoing. Because, like, if you see someone and you think they're trans, as we talked about, first, be aware of the emotional labor that you put on people. Can you find out this information elsewhere first? If so, Google it. If this is a if this is just a person trying to live their life, maybe don't ask them a question unless the topic is like brought up in general, or if there's a general conversation that's coming up about something and people are discussing their views, you know, maybe then, or just talk to the person like a normal human being, ask them about their day, and like whatever rolls out based on that rolls out. Like, I know it's not the most ideal situation. Sometimes you want to be direct, but not everybody's going to be into like having a spur of the moment conversation about trans issues. So
yeah, absolutely. That's perfect answer. It's context, time and place, and based on who you're speaking with as well. As I scroll through these questions, I've realized that we've talked about almost all of them. We've got around to the answers, except for this one. Have you played the game Before Your Eyes?
Oh, sorry, cut out there.
Have you ever played the game Before Your Eyes?
Before Your Eyes?
Yeah.
No.
I haven't heard of it either.
No.
I'm not sure if whoever asked that question what the context to that was, or why you recommend the game, but please let us know, because if it's a good one, then we obviously would like to know.
If you wanna know more about the trans experience, actually, good thing. Go play One Night Hot Springs. It's a free game. I think it's on itch.io. There's actually a sequel to it as well, which I don't think I've played yet. But One Night Hot Springs is a very simple point and click game where you're just like, is a little tiny visual novel. It's very short. You could probably finish it in under an hour, but it's literally just about a trans person, a trans woman, very young, like teenage trans woman going to the hot springs, Japanese hot springs with her friends, and how you navigate that situation as a trans person. It's really cute. The art style is absolutely fantastic. But but that's One Night Hot Springs. It's free to play too. So
thank you.
I definitely recommend it. What was the game that was recommended?
Before Your Eyes. My friend in chat he was just like, he keeps on telling me to play it. So he now wants to know if you've played it to increase
it came
the
out
peer
this
pressure.
year. No, I've not played it. But I'm taking a look at it right now. I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah.
I can see it's a first-person game. I just saw a boat in a tub, and I thought you play as a boat in a tub. No, I have no idea. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Embark on an emotional first-person narrative adventure where you control the story and affect its outcomes with your real-life blinks. With this innovative technique, you will fully immerse yourself in a world of memories, both joyous and heartbreaking, as your whole life flashes before your eyes. I feel like they gave away the ending there. Now I get the title.
Yeah. I remember him describing this to me. Every time you blink, something changes. So if you don't want it to change, then you have to try not to blink, causing great grief, I imagine, for your eyeballs.
Is this just the game Roy from that Rick and Morty episode? Where,
yeah. Was it just a pull up of that? I wonder if it's a roll-in game. So I want to say thank you for this conversation. This was so valuable for myself, this community, and I think the conversations that we're having are valuable on a wider context on Twitch. And so thank you for the time that you've given us and for the voice that you've given to these issues. The last question I want to ask you, the last question we ask everybody is, what is the most sensible advice someone has ever given you? This is it might be a tough one. Take your time.
What is the most sensible advice anyone has ever given me? Okay. All right. So I can't remember who says what to me at any given time because I have a terrible memory.
Yeah.
But I'll give some advice that I've probably gotten from other people. Is allow yourself to make mistakes. Give up on the idea that you're going to be the best at anything. Like, for instance, give up on your need to be good at things and just do them instead. And be kind to yourself.
I love that. That is perfect advice. Thank you so much, Mia. I so appreciate your time. This has been an incredible conversation, and I'm really glad we've had it.
It's just so chat.
Is it?
but I want to be the very best.
Yeah, the best there ever was. Doc, I'm sorry. Also, do you know that you're awesome? Well, we're here to tell you that you are.
Oh, awesome. was that aimed at me?
It was also a question from chat. That was
a question. Do I know?
Do you know that you're awesome? Arthur wants to make sure that you know this.
I doubt that a lot. Like, a lot of what I do comes with a lot of self-doubt. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, I will accept it.
I can attest from my own community that you have given an incredibly important voice to people who find themselves struggling, and a lot of people come to me and say, go check out Miabyte because she is doing something awesome in this sphere. And I'm so glad that I have come across you and that we have touched, are connected through Twitch, because you are, and you continue to. And thank you for continuing to fight that fight despite the difficulties that you face.
Aww, that's so nice. Oh my god. Sometimes.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sometimes it's difficult to know if you're actually having any kind of impact. So it definitely feeds my ego.
Good.
So thank you. Because again, like I say, a lot of what I do comes with a lot of self-doubt.
Of course.
But it's nice to know that I am having an impact and that people are at least taking something from it. So yeah, the only aim of what I do is to make people's day a little bit better. So if I could do that,
you have
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Mia, thank you again. Have an incredible weekend, and we'll see you around.
Thank you for having me. I've absolutely loved it. So yeah.
I'm so glad. Take care.
Good.
Bye.
Bye for now. Have a good stream.
Thank you.